Hi there and welcome to Planet Coaster 2. Today I'm starting a brand new park and this is a collaboration between myself, Mrs. T-Rex and Raichu Plays on YouTube. We decided to pool our efforts, give the new collaborative park feature a go and make something awesome. To avoid this getting too eclectic, we decided to just go with one theme for this park and I really wanted to try out the Viking theme. So welcome to Project Viking, where we'll be building an entire park using the Viking theme. I've taken the lead in starting us out, and this is a sandbox park because there are still some issues in franchise and challenge mode at the moment. Staff aren't always working the way they're supposed to, my bins aren't getting emptied by the janitors, guests aren't using the rides and the flumes at the moment, and all these issues makes it too stressful to make an awesome park in challenge or franchise mode at the moment. So, starting out on a tiger map, I've taken some time to manipulate the terrain, get this looking the way I want it to look. I won't lie, I have taken some inspiration for this from one of my other favourite games, Valheim. So a big lake in the middle and some additional mountains. Such a gorgeous background in the tiger map, and I wanted to continue that through the park a little bit. Just a shame I can't connect the lake to this river. It won't let you connect to the edge of the map, unfortunately. Anyway, playing around with the terrain tools got this big natural lake in the middle and the park will be built up around this. Two big bridges, got these in early to make sure they fit properly around everything that we're going to add, so got those in first. Then this bit to the right, this is where the guests are going to enter. I'm not going to change where the entrance is, but I am leaving a lot of space here for a big glorious entrance, and quite possibly Mrs. T-Rex will be making one of her signature car parks back here as well. Up at the back, you'll notice I've left this edge of the lake rather straight, and that's because I want to put a harbour here. I've got some big plans for this. I built something similar in Planet Coaster 1, but didn't have the skills back then that I do now, so really want to go back and do a good job of it. Then the aforementioned mountains I've added here. This is going to be perfect for some brilliant coasters that my co-collaborator Raichu Plays. Raichu is a self-certified coaster nerd, so we'll be adding some great coasters up in the mountains for us. I've made the landscape quite challenging here on purpose because I can't wait to see what he comes up with for this. Now, I do need to add a lot more nature scenery here, but I gave it a test with the scenery brush, and as you can see here, when you put the rocks in with the scenery brush, it doesn't look quite right, so gonna have to go back and do this by hand. So quick jump cut here, and we'll come back when the terrain's finished. Okay, I'm back and I've had a lovely, pleasant afternoon making this wonderful landscape with all the rocks and the trees, and my goodness, the scenery brush for the trees works a dream. Got all the major pathing routes in, and wow, the way you can get it so close to extreme terrain is fantastic. We're going to have something so great up here. Did also add a bunch of rocks, and yeah, scenery brush for that doesn't work quite so well. You have to do it by hand. That way you can get some huge rocks in. They don't have that in the brush. Maybe if I made my own brush they would, but it wouldn't look right, I don't think, and I don't know how that works yet, so I put all these in by hand. That said, over this side of the park, where the scenery isn't quite so extreme, I was able to use the scenery brush for the rocks and integrate that a little bit with some of the bigger ones that I've just put in myself. And nothing in the harbour because we're going to build this up quite a bit. Don't want to get it cluttered with lots of rocks here yet. Oh, forgot to remove my rock pile. I was using this. I just laid them all out and using them to copy and paste from here. It's easier than picking them from the menu, I find. Also, back here, I spotted this wonderful terrain structure that was already in the game before I started doing anything with the terrain, and I think this is going to be a wonderful spot for some water park stuff. So yeah, I've had a good think about what needs to go where in this park. I always find it's much easier if you plan the general space before you start building. It helps keep a general order to everything. So I have made a very crude design of what I think should go where to share with my collaborators, and I may as well show you guys as well. This is what I think the general layout of the park will look like when it's finished, obviously with a lot more stuff in here and a lot more polished. So I'm going to get cracking with my first contribution to the park, and we'll jump back when I've got something to show. Welcome back to the beginnings of Project Viking. I've left the coach spawners and the area just in front of that completely empty because I do believe Mrs. T-Rex is going to add a great car park here for us. And I do have through the park, I've added these crude signs here or there just to help show what's going where. Don't worry, they will be gone when the park's finished. Also don't have a name picked out, so I'm calling this Project Viking for now. I'm sure we'll come up with something better soon, or maybe I'll just keep it as Project Viking. Let's take a look at my entrance build. I've gone big, loud and really leaning into the Viking scenery pieces for this. Doubled up on the entrance gate, that'll save overcrowding issues later down the line. Also, used the windmill pieces for the gate and that's taken them up to their maximum size for that big impact at the start. And of course, overuse of the banners and the posts and things, really wanted to make an impression. Through the covered section, a bit more scene setting in here. Getting creative, shall we say, with my sword play. Oh, and top tip from me here, lighting. This light in particular is the only light I've found that illuminates the way that you need it to in the darker sections. I love the new darkening effect in covered areas, but it does mean I have to pay a lot more attention to where lights go. This brings us out into the main plaza and calling this the Viking Village. Spent a lot of time building this up, working out the plaza pathing, and right out the entrance I had to go at reskinning my first flat ride. I'll be honest, I forget what the name of this ride is. I know it's in the vintage pack and it works perfectly with a Viking theme. It was so great to theme this. I'd struggled a little bit to get used to the controls of that, but I think I got there in the end. Called this Shields and Swords. Here's the swords. We'll have to wait till the cover comes off to see the shields. I think it's slowing down, so it should be off soon. And there we are, there's the shields. Like I say, it took a while to get used to attaching scenery to the ride, but once you get the hang of it, it's great. So that's my first attempt at a Viking theme for a flat ride, and I do think it fits in rather well right out of the entrance gate. I have, of course, themed the inside of the entrance, so over in the corners, with all the nooks and crannies, I've got shops and things crammed into the corners, and there's a toilet hidden behind here. I felt for the entrance, symmetry would be really important either side so that it draws your eyes into the entrance gates. So this side's exactly the same but mirrored, and got the info desks in the cutout. Added a few vending machines to make up for the fact there isn't food shops on this side. And more toilets. Oh, and we get to see how they work because we've got some people going in there. Edging through like magic. Shoved in the corner here, this is a staff room, and I've shoved this in as an afterthought because I've turned off the staff needing breaks just so I could build, and they still need a staff room apparently, so yeah, they've got a blueprint from in the game for that. Work our way back round, and we get to see swords and shields in action without the cover on. To be able to customise this level, it's so great. I am in love with this new feature. Next up, I've built a themed gift shop. Created this all myself, and in here we've got all three of the gift shops set up as counters at the back. Great, we can scale pieces to fit the counters exactly now. Decorations in here, I feel like I could have added more, but I did spend a lot of time decorating this with the Viking stuff. Very proud of my rotating weaponry display. And if you've used the workshop, you may recognise the gift shop clutter that I've created. It's always so handy to create a blueprint of gift shop stuff, and you can just put it in any build then. Next in this corner, I've used an in-game blueprint of the windmill here. Frontier have done an excellent job creating this themselves, so I figured I'd just use the one that they've got in-game rather than making my own. This next building is a cable car station. I wanted a transport ride that stretched across the park, and the cable car was the one that I felt fit in most with the theming here. Unfortunately, the game doesn't let us add scenery to track rides, so you've got to go with what's already there, and all the other transport rides I felt were a bit too modern for this park, so gone with the cable car stretched right across the lake up into the mountains there. Fun to see how that's going to interact with the coaster that's going up there. We'll have to see. Anyway, we've drifted, let's get back into the village. Beyond the cable car station, there's another gift shop, and added a pond here. Be nice using the water block to make your own water features without having to dig out a pond and add real water. Next is my favourite feature of what I've built so far for this park. This is a reskin of the Forge ride. Based this on a map room I built in Conan Exiles a few years ago, if you know that game, and I'm really pleased with how this turns out. Really played into the forge theme, going with all the steel and the smelting and stuff, and it took forever to make sure none of the scenery was clipping with the ride. The seats get really close to the stone, but I have checked it over and over again and nothing clips, thankfully. Animated smelters fit really well in the middle, and the marble pieces, you can recolor this and it looks exactly like smelting rock or metal. So great for the floor piece there. Around the back, I've done my best to make this look like forges, so forge frontage, and inside gone to town with the flames there. In terms of attaching scenery to forge, been quite minimal with this, done the column in the middle, and we've got stuff attached to the top just so it fits in a little better with the forge theme. So that's forge, and that's pretty much most of the village that I've completed. I'm sure this will get built up more when one of my collaborators takes over. Oh, but I nearly forgot. Okay, I built this little fortified settlement, and this is a tribute to one of my other favourite games, Dawn of Man. I am, of course, feeling a little bit of Valheim in this build too. Just felt like this corner of the village was feeling a bit empty, and I thought this would be a fun decoration to put in the corner here. Struggled a bit to make the hut. The thatch we've got in game doesn't colour quite right, so gone with the wood there and made do. That is now definitely it for the village, so let's make our way under the bridge and move on to the next area. Oh, and the Viking entertainer there doing his little animation there for nobody. Speaking of the bridges, really quick build here for the bridges, but I think they look okay. I didn't really want to spend half a day building the bridges, so I've gone with a basic structure, which is obviously made up of the Viking pieces. It's just a bit of shelter as the guests are making their way around to the other section. Follow the road up, and nothing built up here in this section. Yes, this is going to be where some of the coasters are. We might get some flat rides down here. I'm not really precious what goes in this section, but I am conscious this is a really long walk for the guests around this part with nothing to look at other than trees. So we'll figure something out for this. Follow the road to the end though, and we do get to another interesting section of the park I've already built, the Viking Harbour. Love this section, fits really well with what I had planned and the space I'd left to accommodate it. All the Viking themed pieces very well suited for a build like this. Of course, I thought the main feature would have to be the boat ride, I think it's upswing flat ride, yeah. Front and centre, this is what is bringing the guests around to this section. Take a look around the back, or is this the front? I don't know. But this is a very similar build to what I've created for the entrance, just on a smaller scale. Entrance and exit for upswing right in the middle. Now, there is one small problem with this. The guests are clipping through the wall when they enter the ride. I can't really direct the guests any other way, so I'll live with that. Like with the entrance, the little cutouts I've created in here, we've got some facilities, so some food and drink. And again, that's mirrored on the other side. I do like a bit of symmetry for these really large buildings. I think it helps draw the eye into the centre. Just really pleased this came out according to what I planned. To be honest, I made this build in Planet Coaster 1 with a pirate theme, and it didn't have the same kick that this does. I just love watching the boat go up and down. But can't spend all day here. We still have something else to check out. Right in the top corner of the park, I've been working on something a bit different. It's the beginnings of the water park. Did make my own flume slides here. It's slightly better than my first try at doing that in my previous park, which was the mythology one. That didn't go so well. At least these are a bit smoother. More realistic with the pool sizes as well, and made sure the paths were a lot larger than my first attempt at this. Anyway, that's the flume, so what about the pool? Being a tiger map build, I thought, what about a hot spring? I've heard of stuff like this in cooler climates where they will tap into a hot spring and siphon some of the warm water and make a pool around it, so I thought I'd have a go at doing something like that. Gone with a concrete base to make it a little more natural. Unfortunately, we don't get a natural coloured pool base, and I put rocks on it at first, but I didn't like the way that looked. Rocks on the edge does look great though. Had to go with shaping the edge of this, so you go from shallow to wading to swimming water. Doesn't go any deeper than swimming. I thought that was a bit too deep. Did also attempt a lazy river, but it's not quite working the way it should right now. Nobody's using the lazy river part of this swimming pool. Instead, they're choosing to stare at rocks, apparently. Anyway, even though no one's using it, I'll show you the secret hot spring lazy river part of the build. Behind the waterfall, which I've built into the terrain that was already here when I started the park. Secret underground river. Making use of the Viking themed rocks with the symbols on them and some mist for the water evaporating. Just a shame really the guests don't use the lazy river. I'm going to have to tweak the jets and figure out how to get this to work. Not looking forward to that because it means moving all the rocks out the way. Joy. At least the guests are using the main pool bit. I mean, I suppose that's the point, isn't it? They are occasionally clipping into the rocks. It's really hard to get the rocks to align exactly with the edge of the pool. I just try and ignore the guests around the edge. For decoration, this is minimal. Got some lounges in, which you never use. Oh, tell a lie. Oh my goodness, somebody's using a lounger. First time I've seen that. Anyway, rest of the water park area. Still got a bunch of stuff to build up with this. So far, it's just some shops. Doubled up on the changing rooms because one is never enough. Weird glitch with that lady's hair, okay. But yeah, remembered we need changing rooms close to the pool, so there's a couple over this side, and then I've added an identical building over the other side of the pool. Here it's just one changing room and also a washroom, but some more food and drink options. Also shoved in a vending machine over here, and yeah, I probably should decorate this a bit more, can put a shelter over it or something. I was running out of time, to be honest. That's why this area at the back, I've got plans here, and I'm sure my collaborators will have plans with this too, hoping they can help build some interesting stuff over here. I've achieved a lot in this first episode, but we've got so much more to go in here, so much more to build to get this to be an awesome park. Right now, it's an okay park, but we are lacking in thrill rides. We need coasters, and this is where the collective strength of our collaborative team comes together. Next episode, I'll be handing this park over to Raichu, and I'm hoping they'll be able to integrate a great coaster over here. That means all these guests that are using the cable car right up to the mountain and getting off here, at least they've got something to do. Right now, there's Nout here for them, and they've just got a really long walk back to the harbour. I'm excited to see what he comes up with for this, so be sure to check that video out too. I'll leave a link in the description to both of my collaborators' channels. But until next time, thank you so much for watching this first episode of Project Viking. I'll catch you next time.